I've loved Pokemon my entire life, but I have never successfully completed a full Nuzlocke. I decided the time was right and decided to stream myself doing a hardcore FireRed Nuzlocke live on TikTok. Like a normal Nuzlocke, if your Pokemon faints, they're gone forever and you can't use them, and you can only catch one per route. But also in a hardcore Nuzlocke, you can't use items, you can't use more Pokemon than the next gym leader, and you can't overlevel the next gym leader. So if I was going to fight my boy Brock, I have to use 2 Pokemon maximum because he only has 2, and I can't go past level 14 because that's the highest level he has on his team. As soon as I get his badge, then the level cap raises to the next gym leader's highest level. Without further ado, let's get on with the Nuzlocke. After giving Professor Oak all of our social security details, we finally can get on with our journey in Kanto. I'm going to be going for a Bulbasaur this route, partially because it's my favourite of the Kanto starters, and partially because I think I can handle the champion having a Charizard. I do have a Pokemon in mind that should counter it if I can get one on the route. After scraping by the rival fight, we're actually allowed to leave the town now. You don't actually get any Pokeballs until you deliver Oak's parcel from the Pokemart in the next town, so now I've come back, the Nuzlocke is properly beginning. I take my first steps on the road to Viridian City and encounter my first Pokemon, Paula the Rattata. After making it to Viridian City, I'm going to take a quick detour left to grab myself Jane the Mankey and actually begin our first rival fight. You can actually miss this one, and I didn't think I was going to do it, but I felt like giving it a go. Paula quickly ate up his Pidgey and then Jane finished off the Charmander, although it was a little bit dicey at times. I was scared of some crits. Back on the road for our first badge, I grabbed myself a Pidgey on Route 2 called Kate, and we enter Viridian Forest. Now sadly this is our first failed encounter. I did manage to find Pikachu, which would have been one of the best encounters possible in this area, but a crit from Paula sadly put an end to that plan. Popping out the other side, we are here and we are ready to claim the Boulder badge from Brock. As I mentioned in the example, Brock's level cap is 14 and he has 2 Pokemon on his team. I decided to bring Bruce the Bulbasaur and Jane the Mankey. Either one of them can probably take out the whole team on their own, so it's safer to have the pair. Bruce just sits on the sidelines and cheers as Mankey sweeps the entire team for Brock. That's 1 badge down and our level cap is up to 21. The prologue's well and truly over. Missing the Pikachu was a silly mistake, but little did I know I was about to make some major ones very soon. With 1 badge firmly in hand, we leave town to the right. We grab Kim the Jigglypuff and make our way to Mount Moon. Taking a step inside, we add Mark the Zubat to the squad and things feel like they're going quite well. That is up until right near the end of the cave. Super Nerd Miguel stood firmly in my path as the last encounter of the route, and he definitely did not want me touching his Pokefossils. The main issue here is that his team poisoned 3 of my Pokemon. Kate, Paula and Jane all got poisoned fighting his horrible mucky team. There is an antidote straight after the battle, but obviously there's 1 antidote and 3 Pokemon, so I had to make a choice and I chose Kate. I desperately tried to keep Paula and Jane alive, but by the time I reached Cerulean City it was too late and both of them passed away just before I got to the Poke Center. These were our first 2 deaths and they weren't even in Poke Battles, it was so annoying. RIP Paula the Rat and Jane the Monkey, you will not be forgotten. With 2 Pokemon lost, I did not want to take any risks with Misty. We do some training outside town and Bruce evolves into an Ivysaur and we pick up Ekans John. One of the benefits of the rules of this run is that it's only illegal to bring a Pokemon that's higher level at the start of the battle. If your Pokemon is trained all the way up to the edge of the level cap, then you can level up from the experience mid-battle. I decided to do this with Bruce the Ivysaur this battle so that when he beat Misty's Star U, he would learn Razor Leaf ready for Star Me. Kate manages to evolve as well in this grinding, so we decide to bring her and Bruce to the battle. Much like the first gym, it's a clean sweep. Bruce takes out all of Misty's Pokemon and we grab our second badge, raising the level cap to 24 and getting us ready for our next rival fight. We head upwards out of town and bump into our rival again and he's ready for a fight, although it's not too difficult, especially seeing as his Abra doesn't even have any moves. After Kate cleans up his team, we head over the bridge and are invited to join Team Rocket. Sadly, in this version of the game, you can't even say yes as a joke. We have 2 more encounters here, Butch the Caterpie and Wally the Oddish, before we head over to Bill's house and save him from his own machine. He's turned himself into a furry for some reason. We grab the ticket for the SS Anne as his thank you and head back to Cerulean City to solve the easiest crime ever. I'm really not sure why the policeman didn't just look around the building. As we head down to Vermilion City, we catch Candace to Meowth and then head straight onto the SS Anne, evolving Butch to Metapod and Butterfree in the process. It's time for another rematch of our rival. I didn't actually realise how back-to-back these feel when you play through the game quickly. Knowing he always leads with his flying type Pokemon, I decided to try and be clever and use Kim with Defense Curl and Rollout. Rollout does double damage every turn, but if you use Defense Curl before that, it does double damage on the first turn too. And the results seem to be working. Pidgeotto died in just a few hits and Raticate died in a single hit. But then came Kadabra. Sadly, he outsped and Kim's okay special defense just was not enough. I wish I'd evolved it into a Wigglytuff, I just kind of forgot I had the Moonstone on hand. Then comes the next misplay. For some reason I thought that Mark might be able to outspeed Kadabra, And I was very, very wrong. He's instantly killed by Kadabra. RIP our future Crobat, never gonna happen now. Kate cleans up the rest of his team, we grab ourselves the cut HM, but at what cost? Time for a bit of a team refill as we grab Monty the Diglett in Diglett's Cave, and Sally the Fearow, evolving Ekans John into Arbok John in the process. We're allowed to bring 3 Pokemon to the Lieutenant Surge match, so I decided to bring Monty the Diglett, John the Arbok, and Candice the Persian to actually open the gym with Cut. But luckily, Monty manages to take out the entire team with Magnitude. I'm seeing a pattern emerge so far of just sweeping everything with one Pokemon after me stressing about it for hours. The level cap up to 29, we head back up to Cerulean City and head right this time, cutting our way through on the route that would take us to the power plant. Picking up Willis the Voltorb along the way, we arrive at the Rock Tunnel, evolving Wally for good measure. Our encounter here is Brian the Geodude, and I feel sorry for those watching me live because I spent a disgusting amount of time in this cave lost because I refused to use the Flash HM. We pop out at Lavender Town and head into the tower before I instantly remember that we can't actually do much here yet, turn around and head on the way to Celadon. We head left out of town and grab ourselves a Growlithe along the way called Gwen. This was towards the end of my first stream and I had no time to waste in getting this 4th badge. I quickly evolved Candice into a Persian and Gwen into an Arcanine, before I headed into the Celadon City gym with another team of 3. I brought Kate, Candice and Gwen, and I did make short work of her team pretty quickly between the birds and the fire. After yet another sweep, we take a little bit of time to celebrate, evolving Brian into a Graveler, collecting our Eevee Eric, and heading left to take a look at the route with the Snorlax. Now, Snorlax is probably one of the best Pokemon in the entire game, and it's a vital must-have for almost any easy Elite Four run. Now, there are 2 chances to get a Snorlax, and I interestingly decided that I would just use my next encounter on the Snorlax and take the Doduo on this route because I really like Dodrio. In hindsight, it might look silly, but there's absolutely nothing that can go wrong next time I fight a Snorlax, so just keep that in mind. Instead of going to bed like I planned, I decided I would try and deal with all the Team Rocket stuff before I closed off the first stream, and as a result I got Kate killed almost instantly by not checking that her HP was full before I went into one of the battles in this area. We welcome Monty, Brian and Butch off the bench and evolve Monty into Dugtrio, before heading into the depths of the base to confront Giovanni. Bruce cleans through all of his ground and rock types and the rest of the team gang up on Kangaskhan. It's very funny beating Giovanni with a Persian of all Pokemon. Instead of going to bed like I probably should, I decided to do even more of the Rocket questline to try and get it out of the way. This would probably prove to be the biggest mistake in the entire run. I made my grand return to Lavender Town and took on the rival yet again as he mourns for his lost Raticate. He may have killed Kim, but at least Kim took one of his down in the process. The scariest new addition to his squad is his Gyarados by far, and surprisingly it's Butch the Butterfree that steps up to the plate. A strong team effort and hopefully we'll be able to perform like this right up to the champion. We add Vera the Ghastly to the team as we climb the tower, and clean out all of the Team Rocket goons. As a reward we grab ourselves the Pokeflute and I go down to catch Snorlax. Now being tired is no excuse for playing poorly, but it does explain some of the actions I've made. When confronting the Snorlax, I realised he was a lot tougher than I remembered him being, so I had to throw out Graveler who can tank some hits. And one of Brian's moves that I kind of was saving for a worst case scenario is Self-Destruct. After a long time of wearing the Snorlax down and watching him heal entirely to full, I got rather lazy. In my 3 in the morning headspace, I mashed buttons and accidentally mashed the one button you shouldn't mash, the button Self-Destruct. So say bye-bye to Brian and bye-bye to one of the most powerful Pokemon in the game. It might look silly, but there's absolutely nothing that can go wrong next time I fight a Snorlax, so just keep that in mind. To remind myself of the 2 deaths I just caused, I decided to add Vera to the team, evolving her up into a Haunter. It was time to clean out the Team Rocket infestation once and for all in the Silphco building. Evolving Willis, I feel like the team has quite a lot of coverage right now, although that won't help you when you're making plays as bad as mine. For example, one sneaky little scientist had an Electrode that I did not think would use Self-Destruct because I thought he had too much health. I was very wrong and Candice paid the price. Bruce evolved into Venusaur with all the fighting to try and carry the load a little bit in the loss of Candice. I decided to call it a night there, and that was the end of Stream 1. I thought I'd lost too many Pokemon and that I needed to get my head back together to make sure I didn't lose any more. Little did I know that a full night's sleep would not be enough to save some of these teams. Dawn of a new day, I head back into Silphco feeling refreshed. Our team's looking pretty good, we've got some cool Pokemon, Venusaur's just evolved, we're ready to take on anything. And then I accidentally walk into the rival fight without checking my team order. It was a slaughter. Misplaying from the very first turn just meant so many of our Pokemon were marked for death. The eggs managed to outgrind Butch in the long stall game, and while Monty did a great job taking out Alakazam, a future site he'd set up earlier cleaned his clock before he could even touch Charizard. I thought Arcanine would be able to tank the Charizard, but I was wrong. I thought Willis might be able to one-hit Charizard with a powerful quick electric type attack, and I was wrong. And worst of all, I thought that Bruce would be able to get that tiny bit of red damage even with a grass type move, and I was so wrong. Even though Charizard was paralysed 2 times in a row and I got 2 free hits with him, it was not enough to deal the final blow, and so Bruce fell as well. I genuinely thought the run was over. I only had Vera left, she was paralysed and had no health left. But maybe her ghost energy was filled with the spirit of the 5 fallen comrades in my party. She managed to push through and get that final Shadow Punch off. We survived the battle, but the war did not feel like we were winning with all those losses. I decided before we battled any more gyms or any more important characters, it was time we rebuilt our party from the ground up. A top tip if you're doing a Nuzlocke and have run out of routes to catch Pokemon, every city actually counts as an area you can get a Pokemon as well. Obviously for places like Pallet Town they've been used up by our starter, or Celadon City being used up by our Eevee. But almost all the cities have a little bit of water in, and if we can surf or fish on one of those spaces, we can grab a whole load of water type Pokemon that will fill up our gaps. I start by grabbing Lucia the Lapras whilst I'm still in Silphco. I evolved Sally and she has become one of the new aces of our team. Me and Sally flew around the region grabbing all the rods available, and it was finally time for our big fishing trip. It took a while to find all the right rods and the best spots that we needed to get things from, but eventually we managed to add a whole bunch of new Pokemon to our team, starting with Rodney the Magikarp, who we quickly evolved into a Gyarados, Pistol the Horsey that we quickly evolved into a Seadra. Then we headed down the bike path to Fuchsia City. I head out of town right to grab myself Nat the Venonat, who will quickly evolve into a Venomoth. And I finish my recruitment drive for now by hitting the Safari Zone, and while we grab the HM Surf and the Gold Teeth for HM Strength, I also add Jack the Nidoran to the team. I evolve him quickly into Nidorino and then Nidoking, and I think we're ready to get back on the badge trail. While I want to get Sabrina sorted as we're in town, I might as well take out Koga. Between Nat and Jack, we take out their team really easily. Psychic and ground type moves will always slaughter any poison gym leader. We evolve Wally the Gloom into a Vileplume, and this is the new team of 6 that we're running with right now. I can't pretend I'm not missing the guys our rival wiped out, but this team is going to be nice and reliable for us. Before finishing up Silphco, I decided to do just a little bit more exploring. We grabbed Sam the Psyduck, Brenda the Krabby, and nip over to the power plant to grab Magnus the Magnemite. I grab the old Amber from Pewter City. We head back to Pallet, sailing down this time, grabbing Trip the Tangler and going straight down till Cinnabar. Luckily one of these scientists is kind enough to revive the Amber into an Aerodactyl. I take a minute to evolve Magnus into Magneton and Brenda into Kingler, and then we go and grab one of the most important Pokemon in the entire game. At least for me, and that's Tentacool. Patty the Tentacool is my most valuable Pokemon in theory. It's designed purely to take down Charizard. With Tentacool's good speed and massive special defense, I'm confident that it can tank those fire blasts that have shredded so many people in my team. With plenty to choose from, I put together a new squad and go back to challenge Giovanni one last time. Brenda and the newly evolved Sam managed to take out almost all of Giovanni's ground and rock type Pokemon before Vera takes out the Kangaskhan. With all crime everywhere now being solved, it's time to grab that badge we've been waiting for so long. And I hate to seem repetitive, but despite me stressing about her Alakazam so much, it turns out this is yet another easy sweep. Sally's high speed and high physical attack with Drill Peck absolutely shred her entire team that do have quite naturally low defense. I was hoping this would happen, but I can't say I was counting on it working out so well. We head back to the island and evolve Patty. It would be nice to do the gym now, but we have to find the key in the Pokemon Mansion first. Here we meet Don the Coughing. Key in hand, we head back to the gym, quickly going through all the easy trivia questions to get to Blaine himself without even a fight. I'm almost embarrassed to say that Sam takes out every single member of his team with either 1 surf or 2. It's just that easy when you know type advantage. Bill drags us to the Sevi Islands, and as a child I loved this extra content, but as an adult who really just wants to do the league, I can see why this is such a pace killer. Nothing important happens except for the fact we catch Nora the Shelder, evolve Dawn into Weezing, catch and evolve Mel the Drowsy into a Hypno, catch Helen the Horse, and murder Moltres before we head back home. We are in the final stretch of the game now. We grab Carly the useless Goldeen, and head back to Viridian to challenge Giovanni for one last time. I'm not sure how many times I've said that, but seemingly he needs one final time. We're allowed 5 Pokemon here, so I bring Patty, Trip, Rodney, Pistol, and Sam, but I'm fairly confident that Patty can do most of the work. And I'm not wrong because Patty just kills everything with a surf each. It's time for the finale. We just have one rival fight and we'll be on Victory Road itself. I do a quick trade to evolve Vera into a Gengar. This is my test run of my new team members. I need to see if they can kill his Pokemon efficiently enough that I can bring them to the league. As I hoped, Magnus takes out the bird quickly enough and then Charizard sweeps in. This is my time to test if Patty's strong enough. And she proves herself wonderfully, eating up that flamethrower that had shredded through all of our previous team and finishing Charizard like it's nothing. I'm very confident moving into the final phase of the game now. And then the rest of his team I have perfect counters for, so this is one easy rival fight. I've learned his team pretty well. It's a shame I can't bring this exact team to fight the champion because we're going to have to get through 4 different teams to get there. I take a look at the squad we've assembled and I'm pretty impressed. We might have an overabundance of water types, but they're all pretty good water types for what they have to do. I don't think anyone's going to be complaining about having a Lapras and a Gyarados at their arsenal. Making our way up to Victory Road, we show off our ID. I have to stop for a second to pick up a Poliwag called Neddy, and we finally make it to Victory Road. Surprisingly, we suffer no casualties, but I can't pretend I didn't avoid as many trainers as possible. We arrive at the final Pokécenter in the game and take a minute to choose our team. I evolved Tillies as well into Dodrio to make sure that I was looking at all the stats possible for my team choices, along with Nora into Cloyster. After a long time sweating it out on stream, I decided to pick my final 6. Leading the squad is Lucy the Lapras. Lucy's bulk and water absorbability give us a great advantage of the first Elite Four member. Partner that with Perish Song in case things start to go wrong, we have a way to deal with a lot of difficult Pokemon. Magnus the Magneton is next, and Electric Steel is incredibly useful. He hits hard against both the champion and Lance's Gyaradoses, he can do lots to the first Elite Four member as well, and the Steel typing resists an awful lot of attacks. I wanted to bring Sally, but her stats were just not quite as good as Nolan's in terms of damage output. The Flying type damage will help us deal with Bruno's team, although we do have to be careful because of the part Rock typing. Rodney speaks for himself. Gyarados is one of the most powerful Pokemon in the game and is almost ban-worthy in the eyes of some. Intimidate, partnered with good general bulk and a massive attack stat, Rodney can deal with almost anything. Much like Nolan, Vera's here because she's very quick and can hit very hard, but also has the Destiny Bond attack that will help us deal with anything too messy. I can see this going against Charizard or against Dragonite if something particularly goes wrong. And last but not least is Patty, born and bred to kill Charizard. Not much else, I don't really need her for anything else, and I don't want to use her against most of the Elite Four just in case. Without further ado, we enter the Elite Four. First up is Lorelei, and we open up with Magnus. Magnus manages to sweep most of the team with Spark before she sends in Lapras. By working together between Vera and Lucy, we managed to put the screws to her though. I predicted the Confusion Ray on Vera as well, so I gave her a Prism Berry that would keep us cured. Between the Sparks, Thunderbolts and Perish Songs, we've managed to take out our first Elite Four member. On comes Bruno, and we lead with Patty. Despite her low physical defense, I'm hoping her speed will be enough that we can just kill them all before they kill her. We kill the Honest quick and then use Vera to pivot into some fighting type moves. Vera wipes out the Machamp with Thunderbolt, and I take a risk switching in Lucy to finish up the Hitmonlee, and despite everything it all works out and we take out another Elite Four member. In comes Agatha with her Poison Ghost team, and we lead with Magnus to just nullify any kind of poison damage at all. Annoyingly, she uses Curse, which is a bit of a pain, so we're going to have to start doing some swaps. Nolan takes out her Gengar no problem with Ancient Power. Lapras deals with her Arbok and its nasty Sludge Bomb. And Sleepy Magnus comes in to deal with Golbat, so that's all of the Elite Four apart from Lance done now. Up against the Dragon Master now, Magnus electrocutes Gyarados to pieces. Lucy takes out the first Dragonair and the Aerodactyl, but not about taking some damage. I thought this new Dragonair might use Outrage, so I switched in Rodney to do an Intimidate to lower the damage a little bit. I thought I could out-tank it despite the fact that I was paralyzed, and a critical hit proves me thoroughly wrong. So Rodney is our first casualty of the Elite Four run here. Nolan cleans up the Dragonair, but after getting almost destroyed by Dragonite, I realized I had to change tack. Vera has been one of our most powerful Pokemon for the entire run, but it's time for that Destiny Bond to come to good use. This Dragonite is too scary if these outrages keep wiping out my teammates. She casts her spell and Dragonite takes himself out, so the Elite Four is fully complete. It's all been building up to this. Time for revenge for all the Pokemon that he's taken from us. It's time to fight our rival, the champion himself. Magnus comes in and takes the Pidgeot out like he was supposed to before Charizard sweeps in. Patty the Tentacruel is now ready to take the stage, eating up that Fire Blast and dealing with him very quickly with Surf. As Alakazam comes in, we have to switch out Patty because of the poison typing into Lucy. And amazingly, we get a critical hit with Surf. This run is going better than I could have hoped for. His Rhydon goes down to yet another Surf from Lucy. And then we switch in Magnus to deal with the Executor. We trade a lot of blows back and forth and he keeps putting us to sleep, but we manage to burn him with Tri-Attack, which is very handy. The burn kills him whilst Magnus is still asleep, which means that when he sends out Gyarados, we switch into Lucy for a minute. Lucy's luck continues as we both freeze with Ice Beam and manage to set up a Perish Song before we switch back into Magnus. We switch back into Magnus in case we wake up, but that Perish Song ticks to 0 and we've won the Elite Four. We've finally done it. It's all been about this. We've caught 33 Pokemon over the course of our journey, lost 14 of them and missed out on 2 of them, but we managed to make it to the Elite Four with an impressive team of 6 to choose from. Rest in peace Rodney, and especially you Vera. This whole run would have been over back in Silphco if Vera hadn't been able to do the final punch to that Charizard, so we definitely owe her this entire effort. Let me know what you thought of this Nuzlocke run in the comments below. I certainly could have made a lot better choices, but I think those mistakes are part of the fun of these kind of challenges. Very soon I'll be taking the challenge again over in Hoenn in Pokemon Emerald, so if you'd like to see me do that, please head over to my TikTok and you can watch me stream it live. Until next time, I hope that you enjoyed the video and have an amazing day.